Welcome, everybody. I have been asked to share my thoughts on getting myself through a panic attack. So I created a guide for myself called the Unicorn Shadows Quick Guide for Panic Attacks and Anxiety. And Unicorn Shadows is the name of the book that I am currently writing. And so I've created this for myself and shared it with others who have said that it helps them get through their moments of panic and anxiety. A quick history: I have a diagnosis of C-PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, from trauma, very complex trauma, throughout my childhood and into my young adult years. Suffered panic attacks, severe panic attacks for 25 years. And in 2013, a shift occurred, and I decided I no longer wanted to live my life letting fears dictate my life. So I started to do a tremendous amount of research, started a therapy called EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprogramming, and was developed by Dr. Shapiro in relation to soldiers returning home from war with PTSD diagnosis. So it has, the research that I've done in utilizing coping skills, I call building a toolbox and filling it with these coping skills that I can utilize. I can get a panic attack under control literally in about 3 seconds. And honestly, I just rarely have them. They are pretty much non-existent in my life anymore. So I'm getting ready to fly out on Friday, and the anticipatory anxiety has been rising. But again, I've been able to keep panic attacks at bay and keep myself in a very calm, very centered state of being. So I'm going to run through, and again, these are things that I utilize that I've learned in research, learned from my own therapist, or heard from a family or friend. I'm not trying to steal these ideas from anyone, and I give credit to whomever developed them. Absolutely. They deserve all the credit for helping me and others to overcome the symptoms that arise when a panic attack starts to ensue. So, I will run through my list. Smile. Put that big smile on your face. And again, during a panic attack, the last thing you're thinking about is smiling, but it will create a chemical reaction, just a chemical shift, enough of one in your body and in your brain, that perhaps then, in just that smile moment, it brings you a little more centered, and then you can start to utilize some of these other techniques that I'm going to talk about. Breathe. It's suggested often. 2 that I utilize is a rolling breath and a 4 square breath. The rolling breath is in for 4 to 7 seconds through the nose, and 4 to 7 seconds, the same amount of time, back out through the mouth without pause. So just in trying to slow the breath down while you count. So it's a counting breath, but it's an in and an out, and an in and an out without pause. The 4 square is different in that, and this is one my therapist taught me, 4 seconds in through the nose, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out through the mouth, hold for 4 seconds, and repeat that. And again, I find that as I start to relax, it goes longer than 4 seconds, and that's fine. I allow myself, 6 seconds, 7 seconds if I need it. If I need to catch it deep, if I find I'm getting a deep breath in, that's beautiful. That means that panic is starting to subside. Probably one of my favorites, well, if not my favorite, the 5-4-3-2-1 mindfulness. And I've seen this in many different books and blogs, and suggested by several different therapists. My therapist had brought it up as well to me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 mindfulness. I love this. Find 5 things to look at and describe it to yourself in tremendous detail, and not just the color, but how do you think it feels? What does it stir up in you? You know, when you look at it, what feelings come to the surface? What emotions are stirred? And, you know, if you touched it, what would it feel like? So again, tremendous detail. And these are all about being in the now, bringing yourself back to the moment and centering yourself. Find 4 things to hear. And I've learned 2 beautiful ways to listen. One is to stretch your ears as far as they will go. So to listen farther and farther and farther. And when I sit outside, I'll hear a lawnmower, and then I'll hear a dog barking way off in the distance, and I'll stretch my ears even further to hear the cars on the highway way far away, or a bird singing the furthest bird that I can hear. The other one is to sit as quietly as possible. I learned this in a meditation, and let the sounds come to me, and silence my mind as much as possible, and see what sounds come into me. And again, to then talk to myself about what it is I'm hearing, and what it is, what sensations, what emotions, what's being triggered by those sounds, what's coming up, what is surfacing. 3 things to touch, and not just touch with your hands, but, you know, how do the clothes you're wearing right now feel on your body? What about, you know, your toes? Wiggle them around. You know, what do they feel like right now? And again, so not just touch of something with your fingers, although you can do that. I'll do that when driving, because I tend to have panic when driving, or the sensations of panic start to stir, and so I will touch different surfaces in the car, the cool and the hot dashboard, but the cool metal. Just to see, again, to get myself centered again and back into the now moment. 2 things to smell. I do this in my backyard often, and I jokingly say during my speeches that it's usually flowers and dog poop. It's usually the 2 smells that I come up with, but sometimes I try to go beyond that and let those 2 go aside and see if I can pick up something else. 1 thing to taste. And again, with each of these, try to tremendous detail in describing these things to yourself. So, you know, lick your lip. Is it salty? Or do you taste the banana you had for breakfast, or the mouthwash that you had used? Stop and be. This is a difficult one for people who are having a panic attack, because we want to run away from them and try to make them stop. But if we just stop and be, and allow the sensation that are arising, the sweaty palms, the racing thoughts, the fast heartbeat, the turning stomach, the butterflies, the tingling sensations, all of those sensations that begin to arise, and let them wash over us and then dissipate like a wave, then we will find that they will dissipate that much faster. Pray. I am a person of faith, and so I find if that I begin to pray, I invite angels, or I invite spirit guides, or I talk to God, and again, bringing myself into the now and into this moment of where I am and what I need, helps tremendously. Positive affirmations. I just made positive affirmation cards with my daughter today, and it was wonderful. Just using a Word doc, inserted a shape into Word, and then did a fill with a picture. I take pictures at a nature center, and filled it with flower pictures and other pictures that I had taken at the nature center, and then used a text box to put affirmations on. I am safe. I am strong. I've got this. I am a survivor. I am a warrior. Not a worrier, but a warrior. W-A-R-R-I-O-R. So again, reminding yourself of all the things that you are and the positive things. I am loved. Release expectations. And this I do for others, but the biggest lesson was learning to release expectations of myself. So relieving expectations of myself in that I don't have to always be in control. I don't have to be perfect. It's okay if I'm having a moment, something is being triggered, and to be patient with ourselves as we make it through this moment, and that it's okay. And have no expectations on how you have to be, because you are what you are in that moment. And if you're afraid, you're afraid. And if you're angry, and if you're sad, and all of those emotions that are natural emotions, it's okay. Grounding techniques. Again, I use one, when I practice these in my backyard. I have a beautiful tree in my backyard, and I will literally put my hand on that tree and let the strength of that tree radiate into my being as a reminder that its roots go far deep into the ground. And so I imagine the roots going down into the ground. My therapist taught me this one. And I remind myself this tree has withstood many storms, and though it may bend, it's still standing. And I'm the same. And that I am grounded. And I will do it when driving, by grounding simply by holding on to the steering wheel and that touch and the solid, and feeling, the sensation of the seat underneath me. Again, pulling myself back into the now, back into this moment. Journaling. Journaling is good for finding those triggers. So I journal all the time, at least once a day. But it helps in if something has arisen, if anxiety has surfaced, what is going on, and to write about it. And see if possibly I can come up with a solution. Another suggestion that a friend had given me years and years and years ago was to write a letter to God in my journal and ask the questions that I need to ask. And so sometimes I will ask those questions. Dear God, why am I feeling insecure right now? Why is this anxiety arising? And then just silence my mind over the next day and see what arises and what answers I receive. Reality reminder. Another crucial one that has been very important for me. Reminding myself in a moment when I can feel the anxiety starting to surface very quickly, particularly when driving. I will look to my right, I will look to my left, and I will find beauty. I will look for the flower or the butterfly. I will look at the sun, the clouds. I'll look for a heart. I find hearts everywhere, and you can usually find one in a cloud somewhere. Again, it's a reality reminder, and I tell myself, you are safe in your car. No one is here to hurt you. No one is behind you, and you are safe. Listen to the music. Listen to the beat of this song. Turn up this song. You love it. Look at that beautiful, beautiful sunset. Reality reminder of being here in this moment. A body sensations focus. That one is difficult, but again, I have done it. When my heart is pounding out of my chest, I will focus on it and bring all of my attention to it. It sounds horrific, and it can be, yet it makes it dissipate oh so quickly. And when I've learned to do it and really do it, it goes away. I collect. Collecting hearts is my thing. And so it helps me to have something that, again, is very, very much of the now moment, and finding something in the now that's beautiful and comforting and safe. And so I look for those. Sometimes subconsciously, and sometimes as a conscious effort. I utilize a support system. So again, call somebody. Find somebody who will tell you, I will get you through this moment. You're okay. Let's breathe. I will hold your hand. I will let you talk about it. Tell me what's going on. Where are you? Someone who will joke, someone who will sing you a song, whatever it is to get you through that moment and allow you to bring yourself back. Bring yourself back to a now of calm and tranquility and serenity. I share my story. Again, I now put it out into the world that yes, I've experienced trauma. No, it does not define who I am, but it is a part of me. And as a result, I sometimes have anxiety surface. I sometimes have panic attacks arise. And that's okay. It's a part of me. And by sharing my story and telling people, I'm having a difficult moment right now, it's amazing the response. Because how many people either have it as well and are willing to help you through the moment, or just the compassion that people give is beautiful in helping me to make it through that moment. Meditation has been very, very important for me. Again, there's meditation apps, there's free ones that I've utilized, and there's other ones that are on YouTube that I utilize quite frequently. And I love meditation because it's helping me to be comfortable within the silence and comfortable with the quiet of my mind, which was always a really, really scary place to be. But I've made peace with the past and forgave my transgressors. And so now I can meditate and be comfortable in that silence. And it's wonderful for bringing myself into a place of serenity and centeredness. Forgiveness. Huge for me in being able to free myself. I was able to finally take a step back and say, this particular person, there were several people in my life, but let's say one particular person, and look at that person and say, I have no idea what this person has experienced in his or her life, and I cannot sit in judgment of that. I do not know the impact of either their own trauma or their own abuse or their own heartache on their heart and soul, and therefore cannot judge why it is they chose a path of violence or a path of abusiveness or a path of anger. And so I'm not justifying their actions in any way, but in learning to forgive them those actions, I truly was able to set myself free. I've created a safe space for myself. And this is in my own mind. I've created a safe space, several in my home as well, but in my own mind, so that when I am out or I'm traveling, that I can go to this safe space. And it's filled with everything that makes my soul happy. From heart clouds and sunbeams to ocean view out of a window to blankets and pillows and quotes and angels. And so again, it's my space that I filled with my happiness and I can go into that space as needed. Exercise is huge. It has helped me. Again, it's that whole endorphins thing and changing those chemicals in the body and the reactions. And I'm not going to pretend I'm a scientist and be able to tell you all the things that happen, but you can certainly research it as I have. And exercise is a wonderful release. And again, a wonderful way. I take nature walks quite often, a few times a week if I can. And just being in nature is very centering and calming in itself. Connect. I connect to other people. I connect to those who have stories similar to mine, but also just connect to people for laughter and joy and friendship and cards and hanging out and experience everything beautiful in this life. And so, I've created a card-playing group where we get together and we play euchre. I've created a hiking group where we get together and we hike. And so, it's just about making connections with others. I've created a podcast, the Healing Place podcast on iTunes with a therapist friend. And again, it's about connecting with other people and sharing what we've learned in the hopes of helping others make it through a day with more joy and more hope and more laughter. Being creative. Writing is certainly a creative outlet for me. However, I've learned to open myself up to new creative experiences. A friend had asked me to go to a painting class for her birthday, and I thought, I cannot even draw a straight line with a ruler. Like, my stick people don't even look like stick people. You can't tell what they are. And so I decided to go and had a blast. And it was wonderful because we were painting a tree forest with the sunbeams coming through, and it really turned out beautiful. And I love it that I expanded my horizons on that creativity realm. And finally, love. Find things to love, particularly about yourself, and remind yourself of those things, and people to love, and animals to love. And focusing on that love can be huge in the healing journey. So those are my ideas that I utilize for myself. I know there are many, many, many more, and feel free to share those. I want to thank you for tuning in and for sharing this with me. I wish you tremendous, tremendous blessings as you figure out your own journey and find a way to get yourself to a place of tranquility and peace and joy. One of the things that I remind myself is that for years I procrastinated on writing this book because I didn't think that I could share my story and write this book while still being quote-unquote broken. But then I realized that's where the hope lies. In being broken and not 100% fixed or cured, yet still being able to experience a life of joy and tranquility and peace. And that truly is where the hope lies. So blessings to you. Yet still being able to experience a life of joy and tranquility and peace. And that truly is where the hope lies. So blessings to you.